Your plan to hire Jacinda was pure genius.
Your Drew problem may have been solved by Drew himself.
You can stop this at any time.
Could I interview you?
If Rick had showed up 5 seconds later, Sonny would be dead.
General Hospital latest update. Willow returns to chaos, catching Jacinda in Drew's bed amid a media frenzy. Heartbroken, she runs to Nina, unaware she orchestrated it all. As Drew suffers memory loss and blackout, shame, secrets, lies, and shocking footage blow up his career. Meanwhile, Sonny plots a deadly exit from the mob. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. After watching these videos, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. General Hospital. Willow sobs to Nina after finding Jacinda in Drew's bedroom. General Hospital recap for reveals that Willow Corinthos sobbed to Nina Reeves after finding Jacinda in Drew Kane's bedroom, the one Willow shared with him before this whole scandalous debacle played out. As Willow came home, she called Drew's phone to quiz him about all the reporters outside and mentioned that she entered through the garage. Willow noticed clothes on the floor and realized the trail led to the bedroom, so she opened it up and found Drew sprawled out in bed shirtless. Jacinda appeared wearing Drew's dress shirt and gathered her money off the table before leaving. Willow slammed the door to wake Drew up, so he was immediately confused. After Willow fumed and questioned how Drew could do this to her, she rushed out of the house. Thanks to the video Lulu Spencer provided, Drew's scandal had become a major news story. Nina worried about Willow's devastation, but Portia Robinson thought Nina's plan was genius and had to be done. Jacinda arrived with updates on Willow's reaction and agreed to hide out in Australia, so her business with Nina and Portia was done. Once Nina was alone, Willow came over and cried in her mom's arms. Nina already knew about Drew's wild night and called Willow's attention to the footage of the body shots that had blown up. Willow eventually struggled to understand how Drew could spiral that far out of control. It seemed out of character for Drew to drink that much and hire a prostitute, so Willow thought there had to be an explanation. At the law office, Alexis Davis postponed an interview with Lulu since she wanted to go protect Scout Kane from the fallout of all this. Once Alexis made it to Drew's house, Drew learned about the scandal that had erupted and agreed to let her take Scout to stay with her. In a moment alone, Drew found his cell phone with missed calls and voicemails before stumbling across Jacinda's red bra. While Willow was still at Nina's place, they heard some banging on the door. Drew was outside and started yelling out about how he needed to talk to Willow. In Los Angeles, Sonny Corinthos awoke to find Jack Brennan in his room. Brennan explained the latest cleanup and was ready to head out now that Jason Morgan had arrived in LA. Carly informed Jason about the fake nurse almost taking Sonny out until Brick saved the day. Brennan also told Jason about the latest assassin having a reputation in the intelligence community. She was found on the dark web and paid in crypto, so there were some similarities between this woman and Salisky. Although Carly wanted to stay and support Sonny, he pushed her to head home and be there for Donna Corinthos. Both Carly and Brennan made plans to travel back to Port Charles. Once Jason visited Sonny next, Sonny reflected on his visit with Mike Corbin under sedation. Now Sonny was even more convinced that they needed to get out of the mob, but the first order of business was eliminating the enemy who'd been targeting him. Back in PC, Curtis Ashford stopped by Laura's office to discuss how Drew had made himself radioactive in the political world, which could blow back on Ezra Boyle. Lulu later popped up in hopes of interviewing Laura for her adoption article. Laura opened up about her switched-at-birth story, but she ultimately realized Lulu seemed to have deeper reasons for digging into the topic of adoption. At GH, Trina Robinson was there to support Kai Taylor ahead of his surgery. Kai got Trina's permission to call her his girlfriend for the documentary that Drew wanted done. The documentary filmmaker, who was named Josh, put Portia through a grilling session about the risky procedure before turning his attention to Kai and Trina. Once Josh got Trina to agree to be interviewed, she signed a release form. General Hospital spoilers say Kai's surgery could lead to catastrophe despite all his hopeful predictions. Today's next update, Willow returns home to Drew, a hooker and a major scandal. Today on General Hospital, Alexis tries to protect Scout from Drew, Kai checks into the hospital and Sonny tells Jason it's time to get out of the business. Willow arrives home, calls Drew on her phone, and says there are reporters camped outside and to call her back. Willow then finds a woman's black shoe on the floor. Willow makes her way into the bedroom. Drew is out cold in the bed, and Jacinda, in his dress shirt, says, "Didn't your mother teach you to knock?" Willow states this is her bedroom. Jacinda explains that Drew said she was out of town, and not to be too hard on him, as men often need to let off steam. Jacinda takes off, Willow slams the door, causing Drew to stir awake. He doesn't know what happened. She cries, "Your date just left. I can't believe you do this to me." Willow runs out as Drew screams after her, while grabbing his head in pain. Kai checks in. At GeneralHospital, Kai meets up with Trina, and assumed Drew would be here. Trina guesses that he's not feeling great this morning, especially with what's in the papers. Felicia takes Kai to fill out some paperwork and get him set up. Kai is moved into a room, and Felicia brings up the documentary crew outside his room. Kai explains that Drew wanted to document this for other people and to give them hope, but he thought Drew would be here for this. Felicia says if he needs privacy, she can handle them. Later, Trina arrives and says there is no word on Drew. She asks if he still wants to go on with the documentary. Curtis and Laura celebrate. Curtis meets with Laura in her office, and they discuss the news splashed everywhere about Drew. Curtis explains Aurora held back, but will publish a story later, but he didn't want to rile Drew anymore, given their history. They laugh over the fact that even Ezra is distancing himself from Drew, and their Drew problems may be over. Laura says she misses the days when politics was about the issues, but Drew hasn't done anything to improve the lives of any of his constituents. All he's done is fight with people. Curtis says this stunt shows his constituents that Drew is out of control and self-serving. Curtis notes that Kai's surgery is today, so he's going to the hospital to wait with Trina. Curtis says Laura should be in a better position with the referendum, and Drew may be out of Congress very soon. Lulu interviews her mom. Lulu meets with Alexis in her office and says she'd love to talk to her about adoption for her piece. Alexis says she'll have to reschedule as she needs to protect Scout from her father right now. Lulu feels bad about the story, but others were filming him too. Alexis understands it is her job. Lulu says Drew was very drunk. Alexis calls his behavior out of character. Lulu explains Drew wasn't just tipsy, he was out of control. Alexis says Drew's constituents deserve to know how he really behaves, and she needs to get to Scout. Lulu heads to her mom's office and says her story is going well, but she'd like to interview her mom. Laura was expecting this. Lulu says she is shielding her sources by not using real names. Lulu notes her mom never talks about her adoption. Laura says that's because she wasn't adopted. She was switched in the hospital and had two families. Lulu asks what it was like when Grandma Leslie entered her life. Laura explains she didn't know anything about Leslie, but she felt at the time she had a great connection with this woman who was practically a stranger. Lulu asks if the Vinings saw the connection, and Laura doesn't know. Leslie eventually told her the truth. There was a period when she didn't want to have anything to do with Leslie, as she didn't want to hurt the Vinings. She says she ran away at 14 and joined a convent, and it was Rick and Leslie who found her. Rick made her see that Leslie made all her choices based on what was best for her daughter. After that, she got to know Leslie, and things improved. Lulu asks if she wonders what it would have been like to never know the truth. Laura says she loved both her mothers, and she couldn't imagine her life without Leslie in it. Laura wonders why this is so important to her, and she gets the idea that this article is more than about other people's experiences. What is going on? Nina and Portia the morning after. At Nina's, Portia and Nina talk about how well their plan worked out. Nina says Willow's plane has landed, and she's going to be devastated over this. Jacinda arrives and explains what happened last night. She staged a scene in Drew's bedroom, spent the night on the couch, but was awake to set a scene when Willow arrived. She slipped out the back to avoid the reporters. Nina gives Jacinda the rest of her pay, and Jacinda is happy to head to Sydney to lay low. However, should anyone find her, she will tell them that Drew solicited her companionship and took her to the Savoy, and then back home to continue the party. Jacinda heads out, and Portia thinks she should get to work as Kai's surgery is today, and a film crew is documenting it. Josh the documentarian. Back at the hospital, the documentary crew speaks with Portia about the surgery and the risks. Portia avoids the questions about the dangers of the surgery as best as she can, and points to Dr. Mohinder as the one who is performing the groundbreaking surgery, and she has faith in him and their team at General Hospital. In Kai's room, Trina says he can stop the documentary if he wants, but Kai is okay with it. Kai also thinks they might want to interview her, and they may refer to her as his girlfriend. She likes the sound of that and kisses him. Curtis arrives, and Portia fills him in on Josh, the documentary director, and that he asked some really thoughtful questions. She's still worried for Kai. Curtis assumes Drew isn't here, and he still can't believe Drew would hurt Willow. He never thought Drew was the type to cheat. Josh heads into Kai's room and meets Trina. He'd like to get her thoughts, and she's agreeable to talk to him. She signs some release forms, and then he gets started. Alexis takes charge. Back at Drew's, Alexis arrives, and Drew asks what is going on. She says she is here to pack a bag for Scout, and she'll stay with her. Drew doesn't understand. There are reporters on his lawn, and he has no memory of what happened last night. Alexis enlightens him and shows him footage from the Savoy. He doesn't remember anything, and Alexis has been there as an alcoholic. Drew's never experienced a blackout before. Alexis says he's in trouble, and he needs to do the right thing and let Scout stay with her until this blows over. Drew thanks her and promises to get to the bottom of this. Alexis goes to pack Scout a bag, and Drew hears his phone buzzing on the floor. It's wrapped in a red bra. He sees the numerous missed calls and messages he has. Willow cries to Nina. Willow shows up at Nina's in tears. Nina sits her down, and Willow says her phone just died, and she can't believe what she came home to. Nina knows how brutal this betrayal must be. Willow asks how she knows. Nina explains that everyone knows, and shows her that what happened has been all over the news and social media. She shows her an image on her phone, and Willow says the woman with Drew in the video was the one who was in her bedroom this morning. Willow asks if their kids know anything, and Nina says Amelia is too young to understand, and Wiley and Scout are in school without their phones. Willow says none of this makes sense, nothing fits with the man she knows and loves, and there must be an explanation. Nina asks if Drew's been drinking more than usual lately. Willow says she hasn't noticed, but what if this is who Drew really is? When she left town, perhaps he let loose and showed his true self. Suddenly, Drew begins banging on the door to talk to Willow. Sonny fills Jason in on Mike's visit. In LA, Sonny wakes up to see Brennan sitting in the chair in his room. Sonny knows Brick saved him and Brennan cleaned up the mess and took over his security detail. Brennan says Jason is here now, and he has to be other places to be, so he heads out. In the hall, Carly fills Jason in on the attempt on Sonny's life and Brick saving him. Brennan arrives and tells them Sonny is awake. Carly heads in to see him, and Jason tells Brennan that he can take things from here. Brennan informs Jason that he knows something about the woman who tried to kill Sonny. He says she's a well-known assassin, and she is usually hired to take care of politicians and other government officials, never anyone on Sonny's level. She was hired on the dark web and paid by crypto, just like Selinsky. Meanwhile, Carly sits with Sonny. Sonny says with Jason here, she can head home, but she refuses. He insists he doesn't need her right now, but someone else does, Donna. She agrees to go, only so that his worrying about Donna doesn't stress him. He promises he's okay, and she got him through this. Carly exits, tells Jason that Sonny wants to see him, so he heads in. She asks Brennan what he will do now. He has to head back to Port Charles, and she tells him that she does as well. He offers her a first-class trip on the WSB jet. In Sonny's room, Jason feels he should have been here. Sonny says this was something they couldn't have anticipated, just like what happened at his apartment. However, he got an important message from his dad, and they have to get out of this business. Jason knows they have to find out who is after him, too, but first, they have to get him home. On the next General Hospital, Willow fears Drew's cost her kids. Lulu appears to share Brooke Lynn's secret with her mother. Thanks for watching, General Hospital fans. If you're loving the drama in Port Charles, smash that like button, drop your theories in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. More explosive updates are coming soon.